Welcome to People's Church. I'm Bob Davis, a member of the Sunday Services Committee. People's Church is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association with a 166-year history of liberal religion in Kalamazoo. We welcome everyone, no matter your race, previous spiritual journeys, gender identification, or who you love. We only ask for an open mind and an open heart. We especially welcome you if this is your first time visiting us. Please remain online at the end of the service when you will be randomly slotted into a discussion room with approximately 4 other members or visitors. Our permanent minister, the Reverend Rachel Lonberg, is on sabbatical leave until July 15. But no worries, we have a great team providing her ministerial services in her absence, available by contacting the church office. Today, it is my great pleasure to welcome the Reverend Jill McAllister back into our pulpit. Reverend McAllister served as the minister of People's Church from 1998 until 2013. During Jill's leadership, our church evolved in many ways. Notably, our church community expanded its social justice collaboration in the community through the interfaith organization Isaac, started the popular holiday bazaar, greatly expanded the number of young families with children, expanded lay ministry, and built the new addition on the church. Not surprisingly, the Board of Trustees bestowed the title of Minister Emeritus, inviting her to give a sermon yearly. The Reverend McAllister is currently the senior minister at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship in Corvallis, Oregon.
Good morning, everyone. So great to be here, sort of here with you in this amazing time in our life. In this middle of the month of March, we mark a particular time in our lives, 1 year of global pandemic living. On this Sunday, March 21st, we mark this day in our lives, the vernal equinox, the beginning of spring, the renewed reminder of the turning of the earth. And so we gather, still not face to face, but always heart to heart. And so we gather perhaps less afraid and less confused than a year ago, maybe more steady now and hopeful. Once again, we gather as members of a community of memory and hope. We gather as people called to live every day that is given to us in the best ways we can. Together, heart to heart, we hold and encourage each other and send our love and concern to all in need. I invite you to breathe in deeply, to give thanks for this breath as we enter into this time of worship.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart.
Every week, we light a chalice at the beginning of our service, symbolizing the creation of sacred space as we focus our thoughts on today's service, putting aside temporarily our daily lists, worries, and cares. You are willing and able to light a chalice now. I ask that you enter into the chat box. A chalice is lit in, following by the name you call your neighborhood. Words from the Oberlin, Ohio UU Fellowship. We light this chalice to find inner peace, love for each other, and faith in ourselves. Also, to be welcoming to whomever we meet and kind to all living creatures. So gather around this light of hope as we share this time together.
Good morning. It's Alan Hunt, your friendly neighborhood treasurer. I'm here to give you the stewardship report. We have 67 pledges in hand for $165,000. That sounds very good, but it's only 58% of what we did last year. So I'm a little nervous. Good news, very good news, is of the first 60 pledges received, 44 increased their pledge, and an average of 8% over last year. That's wonderful. And as you understand, if you were with me last week, we will need it because of the staff raise that we delayed for a year, because of the staffing changes to replace some of us volunteers, and because of the uncertainties of the church schedule next year. Thank you for your generous pledges so far. And I hope you've been here early to see the scrolling honor roll of people who have submitted their pledges. We're going to continue that for a couple more weeks, so it's not too late to get your name on the list. We have officially one more week, although my sense of how things are going is we may have to extend it, but we have one more week scheduled in the pledge drive. Therefore, if your name is not on that honor roll, please attend to it now. Ultimately, we will have to start calling and texting people. I don't want to do that, and I know you don't want to get that. So please attend to your pledge this week. And as always, if you have any questions or problems, just leave a message at the church with the answering machine, and we will get back to you. Now it's my great pleasure to introduce the Hampels for a testimonial for People's Church and what it means to their family.
Hi, I'm Joe.
And I'm Annie.
And I'm Violet.
And we're the Hampels. I knew the first time we went to a people's service that this was the spiritual community we were looking for. It was appropriate that Reverend Rachel's sermon was about keeping our Sabbaths. This was how we wanted to keep our Sabbath, but also where we wanted to raise our daughter.
We always knew our values were in sync with Unitarian Universalism, and we considered exploring the First Unitarian Society, which was only a couple blocks from our apartment in Madison, Wisconsin, almost 20 years ago. Once Violet came along and we lived in Michigan, away from our extended family, we knew it was time to join a spiritual community. We wanted to connect with others with similar values and provide a space where Violet could receive spiritual and moral guidance. We talked but did not make any moves until I became friends with Michelle Weemhoff, and she gave us just the boost we needed to take action and attend our first service. Since then, and over the last 4 years, Peoples has provided us with everything we were looking for and more. We have made a number of connections with others and enjoy spending time with them at and outside of church. We value hard work and find connection and meaning through our work on various committees. Whether calling or emailing to coordinate with others, planning events, helping with Zoom technology, or baking pasties, we feel part of a community that works together to accomplish whatever is needed. We feel purposeful with our contributions and appreciate the opportunity to model our commitment to service and spirituality to Violet.
People's Church positively impacts our lives and many others in a variety of ways. And so that is why we are committed to being stewards of the church. Stewardship is the job of taking care of our congregation. We chose to join the other stewards of People's Church because the more we work together, the more vibrant our congregation can be. Please join us and give what you can with your time, talent, and money so that People's can keep giving back.
Join us to support People's Church.
Thank you, Joe, Annie, and Violet for sharing with us what People's Church means to you. That was well said. And now for our time for all ages, the much anticipated video of our recent Stuffie animal sleepover. Take it away.
Welcome to the Stuffie Sleepover at People's Church. First, we dropped off all of our stuffies, masked and outside, of course. Lammy is excited for the sleepover. Foxy is so excited to return for another sleepover. We use sign language to communicate with Blue Bear. Rexy likes hunting, not snakes, and Lulu loves slides. Snack and craft time in the kids' room. We brought home the leftovers. We brought our painted rocks home for our families to enjoy. Now it's playtime in the kids' room. Ducky and Dino Cat built several cool structures. Others built with blocks. Edward Bear enjoys listening to music, and Barry can be a little shy. They had fun playing together. Time to enjoy the sunshine. Sherbert enjoyed hanging out with friends in the memorial garden. Time to climb some trees. Bear Ray loves hide and seek, card games, and birthday parties. Charlie the bear loves hot dogs and burgers, but is allergic to mosquitoes and kiwis. Boo loves flying planes, tire swinging, and hooting. Dino Cat, Tushar, and Sparklesaurus Rex loved climbing the trees. Then it was time to play hide and seek. Daisy the cheetah is a good lookout. She never blinks. Pinkie Pie loves to race, count, and read. Don't let her eat too much sugar. Foxy won hide and seek, hands down. Time to have fun on the playground. Some of the Stuffie's favorite foods are rats and shrimp, Boo, pie, Pinkie Pie, plants, tomatoes, and trash, Lizardy, chocolate, definitely chocolate, Monkey, mystery berries for Pikachu, ramen, Yoo-hoo, and boba tea for Connor, macaroni and cheese for Rainbow Kitty, and mostly veggies to keep him green for Creepy. So we compromised, and we all had crackers. Then it was story time in the Commons with Diane. Then we went to the library to pick our own bedtime stories. Then it was time to wind down with worship circle, joys and concerns, and a meditation with Nancy. Then it was bedtime for the early sleepers. A few hours later, it was bedtime for those who had stayed up later. And then playtime for those who decided to stay up all night. The Stuffies had such a good time. We can't wait to do it again.
People's people are generous in so many ways. Our congregation is entirely self-governed by the democratic process. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is we, the congregation, set our own budget. We provide the financial support for our buildings, staff, and programs. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values we recognize as central to our personal and institutional well-being. The giving link will be placed in the chat box. Since we are in the stewardship campaign, you'll find the link also allows you to complete your yearly pledge to the church. Please do not delay making that pledge. May we be moved to give in love and in hope. The offering will now be received.
Lo, the earth awakes again, Alleluia, from the winter's bond and pain, Alleluia. Green we live and flowers play, Alleluia, to adorn this happy day. Alleluia. Once again the word comes true. Alleluia. All the earth shall be made new. Alleluia. Now the dark old days are o'er. Alleluia. Spring and gladness are before. Alleluia. Change then mourning into praise. Alleluia. And for dirties anthems raise. Alleluia. Our spirits soar and sing. Alleluia. Our hearts leap with the spring. Alleluia.
Please join me in giving thanks. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love which none of us can accomplish alone.
Such joy. I've never seen anything quite like the Stuffie Sleepover. Thank you for sharing that. We enter into a few moments for reflection on our lives. We come from many different places and many different experiences of life, and we have different perspectives and different priorities. And we come always to be connected and to know that we are not alone. We come to be inspired to live up to our highest values. We come to help each other carry the burdens of sadness and sorrow together, and to name out loud our continuing joys and the blessings of life. So I invite you again to take a good breath. Be aware that you are breathing, that you are breathed by life. Allow yourself to let go of distractions and be present to the truths of your life. Allow yourself a moment of discernment to acknowledge what is most important in your life, what shapes and moves you, and what is not most important. Join in as we consider how to help keep ourselves grounded in strength and courage, and help each other by sharing the truths of the joys and the sorrows of each of our lives. I've brought a bowl of water that I use here, the water that represents our community, the fact that we are all made of water everywhere. The water connects us. And the bowl of stones, and each stone will represent joys and sorrows shared. And I will drop a stone into the bowl for each joy and sorrow shared. And now we will pause the recording, and I invite you to share your joys and sorrows by typing them into the chat. Things are changing, but we are not there yet. More than 500,000 people in the United States have died of COVID-19. We take a few moments this morning to light a candle, a red candle, red as one of the colors of courage, especially for all of those who are mourning the loss of those they love. And we will spend some moments in reflection, listening to the music and seeing the names of just a few of the many, many people who have died. So let us share this time together in reflection and compassion. It always gives me pause. The words of that beautiful song are actually from Emily Dickinson, and they still ring true. Oh, people's people, it is so good to see you. I miss you a lot. That has been one of the things that has become clear to me in this year of pandemic living. When I moved back to Oregon, I moved with the understanding that I would be able to stay in touch with Kalamazoo by traveling there regularly. And this year I realized how much I have missed that. So thank you for being here. And I do look forward to when we get to see each other again. So last year in the middle of March, when we all made this decision to shut down and to start doing church differently, I began to think of how we could, in our congregation, stay connected day by day. We were going to need something. And so we decided to designate noon time for everyone to stop wherever they were and say the meta blessing, the meta prayer. May you be free from fear. May you be safe. May you be happy. And then within a few days, I began to send out a daily email. And that daily email, which I called Daily Practice, became a 5 days a week, literal daily practice for me and for my congregation. And so I'm going to begin this morning with this reading, which is one of the daily practices, and then later I'm going to share a few more for you. So this is the daily practice that I wrote on Monday, April 27th. By then we had discovered that this was not just going to be for a few weeks and back to normal, but that we were in for a good long haul of a changed life. I wrote, "Good morning, friends. I had to breathe deeply this morning several times in order to turn toward the day. Often I think it would be so much better if I just covered my head with blankets and slept for a long time, perhaps until the way things are changes and I don't have to face them again. This is not new for me. It has been my way for many years, and I know from many years of practice that I can, and I do, put my feet on the floor, turn toward the day, move into the day, and when I do, I find joy almost as soon as I look out the window. Practice is the willingness to try again, to start again, to be exactly where you are and start there again and again. As we begin a new week, I invite you now to breathe in deeply and slowly let the breath out at least 3 times, imagining that all you have been holding tightly and with worry through the night is flowing out of you as you exhale. With each in-breath, allow yourself to smile. Feel your breath help you smile. And after 3 good breaths in and out, turn toward the light, toward a window, turn towards something beautiful that you love. Turn your body in some way to help you feel that you are turning, and say, I turn toward the day, and open your arms and your heart. Imagine welcoming the day and all it will bring as you would open the door and welcome guests. If you can, think of several things you are grateful for, and then bring to mind people who are suffering from sickness and loss, with worry about how to take care of themselves and their families. Say the meta prayer for yourself and for others who share this day wherever they are. There will be challenges today. There always are. And there will be moments of peace. There will be many, many breaths, each one a chance to turn toward the day. As we move into this day together, may you be free from fear. May you be safe. May you be happy. Sending love to you all. Jill. So in February, after what I realized had felt like months of holding my breath for my life, for the world, for everything that I loved, I began to try to pay attention to my own instructions to breathe and figure out what to do next. And so for a Sunday service in early February, I described the aim as this. The title was, Which Way to Turn? There's so much to do. Survive the pandemic, rebuild our democracy, truly address the climate crisis, dismantle white supremacy, keep working, taking care of family, be kind and loving and not afraid. Which way to turn? And so I began to think of our lives in this pandemic year as a continual turning in the way of turning as it becomes a corrective. And I thought of my adventures with a friend who's a professional lichenologist who invited me to be her field assistant a couple of years ago. And I went out with her into the field to look at lichens and catalog them. And she gave me an opportunity to get out my compass that I had learned to use as a Girl Scout many, many years ago. And I remembered that when you use a compass like this and you're orienteering, you adjust and then you try to follow, and inevitably soon or later or sooner, you're not on course. And so then you adjust and you follow, and then you have to go over logs, and then you're in a ravine. And so then you come up and you have to readjust. And so to aim ourselves always involves a corrective, a kind of turning. And then I remember that in the Hebrew scriptures, the idea of sin isn't really the idea of sin, but it's the idea of missing the mark, as if you were an archer. And so always having to aim again, and then aim again, and then aim again, a reorientation. And I realized that this was what we were doing every single day. Probably we've always been doing it, but I was more aware that every day we had to do it. Return to the beginning and aim again. So on Friday, May 1st, this is what I wrote for the daily practice. Dear all, good morning to you on this spring day, the first day of May. The earth continues to move and the seasons change. A breath, a pause, a prayer, a moment of turning and bowing to the day. Each a way to say thank you for life, for every day and the treasures it brings. If it was my only chance, if it was only this chance to see the sun move over these hills, or to feel the morning air on my cheeks, or to hear the birds singing right now, any of these is treasure enough. We have learned too well to be dissatisfied, to judge everything and everyone, including ourselves, as not enough. Many of us have long lifetimes of practice at this without intention. Whatever we practice, we learn. And so we continue to be dissatisfied. The Buddha said that this was the essence of the human experience, and he called it suffering. Sadly, we are mostly dissatisfied with the wrong things, with beauty and security, with wealth and fame and success. Tragically, we have not learned to be dissatisfied with war and oppression, with the abuse and demeaning of human beings, with the desecration and destruction of the living earth. In ways we could not have imagined and would not have chosen, we are now given back opportunities to turn back to life, to remember who we are. And so may we pause and breathe and pray and turn toward the day and bow and give thanks for each other and the life we share. Thank you for being part of this practice. Sending love to you all, Jill. And then in May, we were turned back into the realities of the deep, deep, long history of racism in this country with the murder of George Floyd, one murder in a string of hundreds of years of murders. And people turned to the streets. And those of us who thought we were doing okay working on racism, we had to turn our hearts and open to deeper and longer truths. I remembered one of my teachers, Marcus Borg, writing about the tradition that he thought Jesus taught, which was a constant reorienting of the heart as the seat of understanding who we are in the world, a constant reorienting. And I wrote at that time that turning meant that especially for white people like me, we had to begin to turn more towards non-white voices as much as possible. We had to turn to the past and remember the things we had forgotten or not learned by reading more history. We had to turn towards the future and the unfamiliar and the hoped for, living in different ways that we might continue to live on a sustained earth. I remembered this beautiful poem of Mark Nepo's. It was titled For Joel at 97, but he started this way. They say that miners in South America strap small lamps around their chest, that this works better than the light coming from the center of your head. They say the head can be fooled, but the heart cannot turn without the body. And I began to realize more how we were being turned and asked to turn our bodies and our hearts toward more truth, more love for the well-being of all. And then in Oregon, after a beautiful summer in pandemic living, then came the time of fires. Forest fires more expansive than anything I have ever experienced here. Huge, destructive. Even me and my family, we had to evacuate a little vacation cabin in the mountains with the fire 4 miles away in the middle of the night. And then we lived in a smoke-filled world, turned again more into our homes and our small places of quarantine. And the pandemic continued to spread and grow, and the political situation grew more tense and bizarre. And in the end of October, I wrote this one morning for the daily practice. Good morning, all. The morning arrives cold and crisp here, the first frost. Mary's Peak, that mountain outside of my window, wears a thin layer of cloud that drapes along her ridge under the soft pink of the morning sky. She is, as always, Chatimanui, place of spiritual power. Though the clamor of human work and strife swirls here this morning, as always, it feels unending. She remains as the witness to steadiness amidst change, my first blessing of the day. The morning star is here as well. Is it Venus? I'm here between them, breathing the cold air, which makes me feel very much awake. Another blessing as the day begins. Across the country, hospitals are full again and filling. The virus continues to spread everywhere. The political movements are unrelenting, both threatening and hopeful. The mood is deeply tense. It feels like the pressure increases every day, and many of us are staggering under the weight, and we were already weighed down. Yet, as always, here is where we begin. Thankfully, we have been practicing. We have been cultivating inner steadiness and courage for months. We are building strength. I settle in now to breathe. Another day, a beautiful day with blessings and gifts and more to learn. Sending love to you all. And then we arrived in November. November arrived as it always was going to, and there was the election. And the world turned, but not so much. And we were wondering, is the world turning? Is this changing? What's happening now? On Thursday, January 7th, and then we waited from November to January, wondering what was happening. Were we beginning to see the end of even more of the world we live in than we could ever have imagined? And all of that led to January 6th, a day of insurrection in the United States. And so on January 7th, I wrote this into the daily practice. Dear all, the day begins. The sun has risen on good and evil alike, as is always true. There's much to say, though none of it is new, for humans have been here before, over and over again. We live in a time of tremendous change, of breaking open. None of us is on the sidelines. There are no sidelines, for this is not a game. Each and every life is a part of the interdependent web. So I begin again by giving thanks for this day, for the new moon, which was still shining as I went outside, for the flowers, the crocuses, which are pushing up through the earth, for the life force, which pushes them towards spring and also breathes through me. I breathe these breaths and the words of the meta blessing. May you be free from fear. May you be safe. May you be happy. The events in Washington, D.C. yesterday and in Salem, Oregon, and in other cities around the world are part of our long history of white nationalism and white domination, of violence and patriarchy laid bare and made visible again for all to see. And there is another world coming, growing, pushing, turning the earth through human lives, a world of equity and justice, of sanity and sustainability. I know I may not live to see it fully flower, but I recommit myself to being part of creating it. And so finally, as February became March, I began to have this feeling that is expressed in the beautiful old folk song, Simple Gifts. You know the words. 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come round where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, it will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, to be bowed and bent. We will not be ashamed, but to turn, to turn, to be turned, to turn, and turn will be our delight until by turning and turning, we come round right. It has been a year of being turned, of learning to turn, of being willing to turn again and again and start again and aim again and see more and hear more and know ourselves anew every day. On February 3rd, I wrote, "Good morning, everyone. After a night of steady rain, waking into the cold air of this moist morning, I'm aware of many choices for beginning the day. I carry an exhaustion I'm just beginning to know, 4 years in the making, intensified by pandemic living and working and grief. And I'm aware of a new lightness, a returning trust, a growing faith. I consider different invitations to listen to my body, to listen to stillness, to listen to the tug of responsibilities, to converse with my worries. But I turn away from invitations. I turn towards quiet and the steady support of my cushion. I turn toward a time of breathing and focus on intention." Finally, I have found myself to be so glad for what life has given me, has given us, all the ways it has caused us to turn, all the ways we have responded. And so finally, just last week, on the 18th of March, a few days ago, this is what I wrote for the daily practice. Good morning, everyone. This morning I've been feeling and observing a restlessness in my body and mind. It has been hard to sit still and easy to get carried away by thoughts. I think it's related to spring, to walking yesterday in the warm sun and noticing how much more is blooming this week, and to seeing twice as many people out walking, to feeling an optimism about the waning of the pandemic, to beginning to imagine people together. I imagine this great surge of people running, hugging, throwing masks to the wind. The image both thrills me and scares me. Returning to this morning and to my breath, finally, I felt as if for the first time, my feet on the floor. Resting on the floor, which rests on the foundation, which rests on the ground, my feet began to anchor me, and my breath began to settle. Yes, there is motion, movement into the day, into spring, into new growth, towards summer, towards more opening, towards something new, and there is stillness in the motion. Each moment can only come after the previous moment. Each moment must first become itself. Each moment is as important as the last and the next. So here, once again, is a beautiful and excellent time for practice. To find grounding in the swirl of change, to remember our ideals, to find courage for seeing what is true, when a desire to grab onto what we imagine or what we think we want grows stronger, to honor those who have died, to bless those who are still dying. Here again is the gift of a day of breath and imagination. here, as always, is this connectedness of a circle of companions and the love which holds all of us, which holds everything. With thanks for the challenges and the gifts of this day, I'm sending love to you all. May it be so.
Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Hello. I invite you to join with me in meditation today. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. And breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, my breath grows deep. And breathing out, my breath grows slow. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment, and breathing out, I know that this is a wonderful moment. I invite you to take a moment to just notice how you are feeling right now in your body, in your heart, in your mind, and in your spirit. With curiosity and with compassion, just honor and acknowledge whatever is present for you right now. And as you hold that true, I invite you to take a moment to ponder, how do you return to your truest self, your best self? Do you have conscious intentions that orient you in your life? What intentions or aspirations do or could you set each morning as you begin each day anew? Daily practices can serve to continually reorient us back to our truest selves, to living out our highest ideals and aspirations of how we wish to be each day. What practices do you have that ground you? to reorient you back to yourself. As we take 3 deep breaths, I invite you to just take a moment to contemplate grounding practices and conscious intention setting. As we each listen within to our inner compass, may we follow its course in living towards our highest ideals. As we begin anew each morning, may our lives embody our deepest held values. With open hearts and open minds, may we bring forth more loving kindness, goodness, and justice into this world. May it be so, and blessed be.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're in. And we will get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo-ya-ya, 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 wo-ya-ya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we're in. And we will get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Wo-ya-ya, 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 wo-ya-ya,
So look forward to seeing you in person in the not too distant future. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for all you are doing to help each other and to help there be more care and compassion in the world, which is so needed. And as we now go back into our daily routines, remember to keep alert to the way things truly are within you and around you. Be firm in your faith. Be courageous. Be strong as often as you can. And start again today. Start again to try to let all that you do be done in love. Go in peace.